Alright, it's time to talk about the Royal Rumble. It's the Royal Rumble talking about the show where I talk about wrestling. Woo! The Royal Rumble is the most exciting match of the year every year because it's the match with all the people in it. They all come to the ring one after another. You know, it's just a buzzer and a countdown, and a guy comes in, and it's always great. There's surprises, and somebody wins, and that's how it goes. And nowadays, there's 2 Rumbles in one Rumble because they have the Women's Rumble as well. And if you really want to get technical, now there's like 3 Rumbles a year because, I mean, last year they did that. The Rumble in Saudi Arabia. That doesn't need to be talked about. No one cares about that shit. Glorified house show for a bunch of wealthy wife beaters with stupid white pajamas that make them look like ghosts. Oh, fuck the Middle East. I don't respect their culture at all. My culture is professional wrestling, and one of the pillars of that culture is the Royal Rumble. The first match of the night, or at least the first one that I paid any attention to, because I didn't pay attention to every single little match. You know, I didn't fucking watch the pre-show or the cruiserweight, whatever the hell was going on. I didn't see Rusev fight Nakamura for the United States title. Nobody gives a fuck about the United States title. I give about as much of a fuck about the United States title as I do Saudi Arabia. But back to the Royal Rumble. The first match that I paid any amount of attention to at all was Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Asuka, the reigning champion, and Becky Lynch wants that championship because, I mean, that's the rules. That's wrestling. That's what you want. You want the championship. But Becky wants more than just the championship. She's not there simply to become champion. She wants the bragging rights that go along with it. She wants to call herself the man. She wants to be the top of the food chain, the king of the jungle, the big cheese, head honcho, not just of the women's division, of the entire company. She wants to be the guy, the dude, the man. That's her thing. She calls herself the man. She's like super popular. She's getting like a huge push. Really almost being treated like the biggest star in the show at this point. I'm over her. It's getting old to me. It's getting annoying. And I don't say that to be contrarian or anything. It's cool that she's getting this push. And it's cool that, you know, the women's division actually matters now. And that arguably the biggest star on the show is a woman, or at least the person being treated like the biggest star. But she's just starting to annoy me and irritate me. I mean, the man shtick is obnoxious and not cool. Her promos, I'm starting to tune out. And really, how can you not tune out everybody's promos? I mean, there's a lot of Becky Lynch diehards who will be like, oh, she's the new Stone Cold. She's not even fucking close. But they'll be like, oh, she's great on the mic. Is she, though? Is anyone great on the mic in WWE? I don't think anyone is, because nobody cuts promos in WWE. Nobody. Everyone just comes out and reads the same script as everybody else that was written by a boardroom full of 40 people and approved by an insane 70-year-old. So at this point, I don't care about the character because, like every character, it's ruined by the promos being fucking boring and worthless. I mean, she looks cool, and she's hot, and she's a good wrestler. And those are all, like, the 3 ingredients. Look cool, be hot, and be a good wrestler. But the other ingredient is personality, and I'm not saying that Becky Lynch doesn't have personality. I'm saying how much of a character can anyone really have in the WWE, where everyone's promos are exactly the same every week, just these long, monotonous diatribes full of stupid jokes and stupider catchphrases. So she's supposed to be the man, and she's supposed to be the new Stone Cold, and she's supposed to have all this personality, but the only place where that personality really shines through is in her Twitter. Oh my god. Wrestlers shouldn't have Twitter. Please, no more wrestlers having Twitter. I can't take it anymore. First of all, if you're supposed to be some kind of badass, but the most interesting thing about you that anyone talks about is your constant string of savage tweets, then you're doing something terribly wrong. You're not a badass. You're a fucking 12-year-old. And that's what Becky Lynch's tweets are like. They're like the tweets of a 12-year-old. They're cringy as fuck. They're embarrassing. I bury my face in my hands every time I see one of them. And I usually see about a dozen of them a day, because every single thing she tweets immediately gets voted up to the front page of the subreddit, till the entire thing is just buried in a never-ending avalanche of savage clapbacks or fire callouts or whatever the fuck the kids are calling them nowadays. Like, she'll tweet at Ronda Rousey or she'll tweet at some other wrestler and be, you know, like grade school stuff. Like 3rd grade, like calling Ronda Ronnie. Like, over and over again, Ronnie's a fucking loser. Ronnie says she's gonna beat me up, but she's just a big, dumb, idiot, poopy head. Like, it's so insipid. It's like a 30-year-old woman. She's a fucking grown-up tweeting at people. And she's supposed to be like the face of the company? She's supposed to be the biggest badass, the new Stone Cold? Can you imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin tweeting at people? This shit is fucking embarrassing. It's pathetic. And I fucking hate it. It's not even just her. It's like every wrestler in the WWE has some lame fucking Twitter account where, like, they just tweet the stupidest shit, like Bray Wyatt constantly breaking character to argue with trolls and argue with kids and be like, well, I'm living the dream. I've got a better job than you, and you're just a loser neckbeard with your hand in a bag of Cheetos, and what the fuck? That's Bray Wyatt! He's supposed to be like a scary, spooky bayou fucker who lives in a shed and runs a cult that abducts people, and he's fucking tweeting about how he has a better job than you, and you're like, what the fuck? Arguing with people on Twitter? Somebody should do something about this! Stop them! Stop all wrestlers from tweeting! It's a nightmare! And Becky Lynch is the worst of all because her shit is everywhere. Because people love it for some reason. They think it's cool. They vote it up. They retweet it and reblog it or whatever the fuck. And it's not cool. It's not funny. None of it is funny. It's like kindergarten shit. I want to fucking kill myself. Enough. No more. No more tweeting. You're not the man. You can't be the man and also be a fucking social media influencer. Having the best Twitter game does not make you a badass. It makes you a fucking loser. I will never take anyone seriously who tweets like fucking Becky Lynch tweets. Stop it. Stop tweeting. I do not have a Twitter, and in my mind, that makes me cooler than Becky Lynch. And that's a problem. I should not be cooler than a top-level professional wrestler ever. That is not a thing that I should be able to say. Just stop. Put the fucking keyboard away. I hate it. No more wrestler Twitters. I'm putting my foot down. They're not allowed to have them anymore. Anyways, Becky Lynch lost the match. She tapped out. Asuka won. Good. You know why Becky Lynch lost the match? Because she spends more time tweeting at people than training. That's my kayfabe explanation for why the man got her ass kicked. Asuka's still the champ. And that's the way it should be. Asuka's cool. And, like, believable as a badass. Mainly because she doesn't tweet that much. And when she does, it's in Japanese, and I can't read it. Asuka's the champion we deserve. She's my champion, and I hope to one day make her my wife. The next match was The Bar versus Shane McMahon and The Miz. I didn't watch that shit. Next match was Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks, For the Raw Women's Championship, I might be getting these matches out of order. I'm just going off memory. This match, I wasn't too invested in. I didn't really give too much of a crap about this match going into it. Mainly because I don't give a crap about Sasha Banks. I don't buy Sasha Banks. She's not convincing to me at all as this badass boss character, whatever that even means. Like, whenever anyone tries to describe Sasha Banks' character, they just go, well, she's the boss. She acts like the boss. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean she's tough, or does it just mean she's a ghetto bitch? I don't know. But whatever she's supposed to come off as, she doesn't come off as tough to me. I don't believe that she's... Like, if wrestling were real, I wouldn't believe that Sasha could beat anybody ever. You know, Becky Lynch looks tough because she looks like a badass. Charlotte looks tough because she looks like a physical specimen, like an athlete. Even Bayley looks tough because Bayley looks like a scrappy babyface who's never going to give up and who's going to find a way to win even when she's outmatched. That's the kind of toughness that Bayley exudes. Asuka looks tough because she's feisty and flashy and colorful and, I don't know, kicks good. Something about Asians just always kind of seem like badasses because, I don't know, because you've got all that cultural indoctrination in your head. Like, you just see all of them as martial artists. And you know it's not really true, but you can't help it. Like, you just think that Asians are tough. And also, Asuka's convincing on the microphone, because when she talks, she yells in Japanese, and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to mess with this lady. So all these women are convincing to me. They all look tough. Asuka looks tough because she's a feisty, colorful Asian who yells at people. Nia Jax looks tough because she's a big fat sack of shit dressed in a garbage bag. Tamina looks tough because she's a slightly less fat sack of shit, also dressed in a garbage bag. And also she was raised by a murderer. Like, her father literally killed a woman. So you have to wonder if she's got that killer gene inside of her, like maybe she could kill a woman as well. Natalya looks tough to me because she's got that Heart Dungeon cred. She's probably one of the last people who will have that Heart Dungeon cred. You know, you can buy that she knows a lot of moves and a lot of holds, and she doesn't wrestle like she's the man of 1,000 holds, but you kind of believe it anyways, just because of who she is. My point is, all of these women come off as tough for their own reasons, and you need that. You need an opponent for Ronda who comes off as tough and a badass, because we know that Ronda is tough for real. So her opponent needs to be able to match that level of believability. I don't believe Sasha Banks. I don't believe she's tough. She doesn't come off as tough to me. She doesn't look tough to me. She just looks like a skinny bitch with too much hair. I don't believe that Sasha Banks could withstand an assault from a strong gust of wind, let alone Ronda Rousey. I think her hair is the thing that annoys me the most. I mean, a lot of women in WWE especially have typically had a lot of hair and like big extensions and stuff, but Sasha is just on another level with it. Like, you can't fight with hair like that. No one can. It's everywhere and it's purple and it just sucks. And anyone in a real fight would just immediately grab a chunk of her hair and spin her around over their head like a human lasso and launch her out of the ring, and she'd be carried away by the breeze into another state, or get like caught up on the telephone lines and electrocuted. I don't like Sasha Banks, I guess is my point. I didn't know that before I started talking. I didn't know I didn't like Sasha Banks, but now I've convinced myself. Before this, I always thought she was okay, but now that I've actually sat down and thought about it for more than 5 minutes, I think she's the worst. Or at least bad. I think that she's not believable as a fucking... I'm just repeating myself at this point. Fuck it. Fuck it. Ronda won the match. Ronda beat her, surprising no one. The next match is Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles for the SmackDown for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan is like a nefarious bad guy now. He's like a mean jerk. He's like a environmentalist, like an insane environmentalist. He hates everybody for being wasteful or something. He's pretty cool. He's been cutting some great promos. Daniel Bryan has become one of the few guys remaining who cuts really captivating promos that don't come off as scripted. It's like a guy has a microphone in front of him backstage somewhere, and he's actually being allowed to improvise for once. And Daniel Bryan's really good at it, and he's good at being this unhinged, self-righteous maniac. And it's good. It's good. And AJ Styles is good. And, they're like two of the best wrestlers on the planet. So this match was bound to be good. And yet somehow, for some reason, I paid absolutely no attention to it, and I didn't watch it, and I didn't care. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if it was a good match or a bad match. I can't imagine that it would be a bad match. I can't imagine why or how it could possibly have been a bad match. I know logically it was a good match. It has to have been. I just didn't watch it. And, the crowd wasn't really watching it either. The crowd was, silent, and Daniel Bryan even remarked on that after the match and worked it into a promo, which is how good he is. He takes a dead crowd that was deflated after the previous matches, and, they had tuckered themselves out, and they were pretty much dead for the whole match. But after Bryan won, he incorporated that into his promo, and he said, I was proven right. I was proven how fickle the crowd is, how fickle these people are. I only care about winning so I can make the world a better place for my daughter. But AJ cares about getting claps and the audience. And he failed because they didn't give a shit. Fuck you, I don't care. I don't care that they didn't give a shit because I'm the bad guy and I say fuck them. So fuck you, AJ. Fuck you. So that was cool. I don't know why. It was kind of slow paced, and I guess the crowd was dead. And by the way, I should also point out that I came home after not sleeping for 2 days, and I drove home from the theater because I had seen the Broly movie, the Dragon Ball Z movie Broly, which was excellent. But I got home and I was already about to fucking pass out. You get home, you're driving home, it's been a long day, you've been up forever, you're fucking tired, you're falling asleep on the road, almost dying multiple times. You finally get home, you just want to fucking get in your bed and put on the Rumble. I wanted to put on the Rumble and go to bed, so, you get home and there's people fucking DMing you, there's people who want you for shit, everybody wants you to do something. Everybody wants your attention. It's just God, leave me the fuck alone. Everyone go away. I just want to get in bed and watch wrestling and turn off the lights and fall asleep, you fucks. Don't you have lives of your own? Don't you have anything better to do than bother me? Get the fuck out of here. Fuck off. Everybody fuck off. I mean, that's how I feel every minute of every day of my entire life. So it's really nothing new, but I especially felt that way coming home and being sleepy and putting on the Rumble. So my point is with that is that, that's probably a good deal of why I wasn't paying attention to this match, because I was falling in and out of sleep for a good deal of this pay-per-view the first time I saw it. And then the second time I put it on, you don't really watch it as much the second time. So the first time I watched the pay-per-view, I was drifting in and out of consciousness the whole time. And the second time I watched the pay-per-view, it was kind of on in the background. So both times I missed some things. And both times I missed the majority of this Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match. But the part that I did catch was the finish of the match where Eric Rowan comes out. Eric Rowan, the weird sheep man, weird, tall, big ginger beard Viking-looking guy, used to be in the Wyatt family, wears a scary sheep mask, he solves Rubik's Cubes, and he has a vineyard, I think, was a part of his character at one point. He's all over the place. Eric Rowan's character is all over the fucking place. But the important thing is he's like a weird sheep man, and he's just kind of like a big lummox, a big stupid idiot who beats people up, even though he's apparently also supposed to be like a super genius. That's also a part of his character. Even though he spent the better part of the last year carrying around a big toy mallet and calling himself the Bludgeon Brothers. Oh, so the super genius Eric Rowan, former Bludgeon Brother, and also former weird swamp cult sheep man, came out and interfered in the match on Daniel Bryan's behalf. So I guess they're like friends now or something. Okay. Cool. The next match was Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor for the Universal Championship. And again, I'm probably talking about all these out of order, but I'm going to talk about the Royal Rumble matches last, I guess. Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor. Finn Balor's a tiny Irish guy with beautiful abs. Everybody likes, sometimes he paints himself up like a monster man. But Brock Lesnar is the big man. He's strong. He's been the champion for fucking ever. And he'll throw you. That's his thing. He throws people. And his best friend is like a tiny Jewish guy who talks good. I mean, people say that he talks good, even though he says the same fucking thing every goddamn time he's on screen. Paul Heyman's gimmick is essentially just a guy who cuts one really good promo a year and then keeps cutting that same promo every time he's on screen for the rest of the year. Everybody says he's one of the best promo guys in the business. Well, yeah, because he only has to fucking do one a year. And he gets to practice it over and over again every time he's on TV. I mean, you give me one big speech to perform and let me perform it as many times as I want, and I'll probably be able to do it pretty convincingly. What the fuck was my point? These guys have a match for the championship and they're going to fight. This was the best match on the show. I would almost say better than the Rumble, I guess, for what it was. I mean, the Rumble, it's comparing apples to oranges. The Rumble is a big hour-long match with a lot of fun surprises in it. But this was like a short blast of excitement and fucking, oh my goodness, is he going to win? Who's going to win? Now, you kind of knew that Finn Balor wasn't going to win the match, or at least I knew he wasn't going to win the match. If only because I know that if anyone's going to beat Brock Lesnar and conquer that reign, it's going to be something that happens at WrestleMania. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the fact that Brock Lesnar is essentially treated like the final boss of the whole company, and they kind of wish that they would get that over with and just have someone beat him as soon as possible, but I mean, like it or not, that is what he is. He's the final boss of the company, so when Brock Lesnar loses, it'll be at WrestleMania. He's not going to get beat at the fucking Royal Rumble. At least that's how I see it. I don't fucking know. This match kicked ass. Finn Balor just came out and kicked the shit out of Brock Lesnar. He had the crowd behind him. He had the crowd believing. He had the crowd believing that a miracle could happen, that he could really fell the beast. They were fighting. Finn Balor was basically kicking Brock's ass the entire time, making him humble, making him desperate. And in his desperation, Brock Lesnar finally got him in the Kimura lock, and he said, "I got you, bitch." And so he had to tap out. So Finn Balor had to tap out. Cool. It was a good match. Oh, God. It was a good match. I don't have as much to say when I don't have as much to complain about. Fuck it. What the hell is the next fucking match? The Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble. This was a good match. A lot of different characters came in, a lot of different kooky ladies, and they all had different, little silly things they did. There was a lot of personality in this match. There was, every character got sort of their moment to shine. Everyone got their shit in, and everyone got their character in. Everyone got to, that's what the Royal Rumble is all about, really. More than anything, it's about personality. That's why it's kind of the most interesting match of the year, even to non-wrestling fans. You can always show the Royal Rumble to a non-wrestling fan because it has most of the wrestlers on the roster, and more than any other match almost, the Royal Rumble is a display of personality, of all these different personalities. That's what makes it an exciting match. That's what makes the Royal Rumble the fucking coolest thing ever. So this match was pretty good. Other than that, there is one thing that I want to complain about, though, and that is Renee. This match really exposed Renee more so than most matches. And I mean, Renee sucked in this match to the point where she was actively taking me out of the match and distracting me, because every couple of seconds I was like, oh my god, Renee sucks. And you don't want that. If you don't know who Renee is, Renee Young is one of the commentators. And she used to be the backstage interviewer person. She used to have like the Mean Gene Okerlund role, where she would just interview people and you know, for the wrestlers to cut promos backstage. And she was good at that. She was really good. Everybody liked her. Everybody loved Renee in that role. She was very likable. She played off the wrestlers well. She was good at that. Then they decided to make her a commentator. And now she sucks. WWE commentary in general sucks because it's all very forced and very stilted. They've got people screaming in their ears and their headsets, telling them what to say. And there's always too many people on the commentary booth. You know, the best commentary teams have always been two-man commentary teams. Like when, you know, I always remember as a kid when it was Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura, or Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. There's always two-men commentary teams, always just sort of work. The WWE likes to have three-person commentary teams, which is just an awkward vibe, because immediately it creates situations where everybody's talking over each other, or like, you know, the commentator's doing his job and the color commentator's doing his job, and then the third person has nothing to say, so they just chime in every once in a while with some interruptive, irrelevant, stupid bullshit, and you're listening at home and you go, what the fuck? So the third commentator always comes off like a complete idiot because they have nothing to really say. You only need a two-man commentary team to talk about what's happened in the ring. The third person is just kind of there to occasionally go ooh and ah. And Renee Young is the worst example of this I have ever seen. Because this entire Rumble, all that came out of her mouth was ooh, ah, oh, oh man, wow, what, whoa, oh man, ooh, ah, oh man, what, wow. It was like a fucking doll with a pull string. You know, like every time someone new would come out to the Rumble, I would immediately get taken out of it because Renee would immediately go, wow, oh man, whoa, and I'm just like, shut up, go away, stop, shut up, enough, stop talking. And again, everybody loves Renee Young. That's the thing, like, she's not bad at her job. She doesn't suck. They just gave her a sucky position where she's now the third wheel in a commentary team that doesn't need a third wheel at all. So she's in that position now where she has to suck. And she sucks now, and it's really distracting, and it's really awful, and I hate it. The winner of the Women's Royal Rumble was Becky Lynch. What? How did that happen? Well, I'll tell you. Earlier on in the night, as we know, Becky Lynch lost her match against Asuka. So she didn't win the championship there. She was very sad about it. Also, earlier in the night, I guess on the kickoff show, there was a match between Rusev and Nakamura, during which Rusev's wife, Lana, got knocked to the floor and messed up her ankle really bad. So, in this Rumble, Lana was supposed to be the number 30 entrant. She comes out limping because of her ankle, and she's struggling to make her way to the ring, and she just can't do it. She collapses in agony, and she's crying and she's sad, like Nancy Kerrigan. I can't do it, but it hurts. You know, her dreams are dashed. And so, since she can't enter the Rumble, Becky Lynch comes out and demands to be put in Lana's place. I'll be right back. I hear the timer going off in the oven. I got a fucking salmon in there. A delicious fishy. A little fishy, yeah. I love the fishy. Whoa, little fishy, yeah. Fishy, whoa, little fishy, yeah. So what the fuck was I saying? Becky Lynch won the Royal Rumble. And, I mean, she came back because she replaced Lana. And then she won. She won the Rumble. So there you go. Crowd went crazy, of course. Everybody loves Becky, so there you go. That's that match. You know, and I give that match, a number of stars. Some amount, whatever. Next up is the Men's Royal Rumble, and fucking... Oh, I'm gonna complain about this one, folks. I'm gonna complain something fierce. So, I'm sick and tired of the Kofi spot. Just stop. Just give it up. It's never gonna happen. He's never gonna win. So I don't care to see the spot anymore. Because what inevitably happens every time, he does the thing, and then immediately gets eliminated right after. So it doesn't make him look like a master of the Rumble, it just makes him look like a fucking goof. Like he can perform all these ridiculous acrobatics to stay in the ring, until he doesn't, and then he loses. Every year. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain. Every year at the Rumble, Kofi Kingston almost gets eliminated, and then pulls some kind of crazy, athletic, Cirque du Soleil bullshit to keep his feet off of the floor and stay in the Rumble. There was one time that he did a handstand. There was one time that he hopped on a chair. There was one time that he was on the barricade and he did this really impressive jump, like an 8-foot jump from the barricade back into the ring. And it's gotten so ubiquitous that it's become like a part of what people look forward to in the Rumble at this point. People go, oh, what's Kofi going to do? What's going to be the Kofi spot this year? And it's even bled over into the women's Royal Rumble now, with now Naomi being the female Kofi, I guess. Now she's doing crazy spots. And also there was another girl who's, I forget who it was, but also did like a handstand. So now there's just like multiple of these ridiculous, you know, crazy athletic, stay in the ring, keep your feet off the floor spots. Which would be fine, but it feels like diminishing returns because Kofi never wins. All of these impressive spots where he narrowly avoids elimination are always rendered worthless because immediately after, he gets back in the ring and then he gets eliminated anyways. Every single time, every single year. He's never gonna fucking win. He's never going to win the Rumble. So just enough. And it didn't help that the Kofi spots this year were really bad. Like, they were really kind of a letdown. There were two this year. The first one, he sort of... First of all, both of them looked like they were kind of botched. Like, both times, it looked like his feet might have actually touched the floor, if not for being obscured by the camera a little bit. So, both of his spots were kind of messed up this year. Which, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, because you only get one shot at these things, it's live. But the first one was like, he fell out of the ring, but his feet were on the apron, so he did like a rolling thing. Like, he became a human rolling pin and rolled with his feet on the apron over to the steps, to get on the steps. That one was kind of cool, but like I said, it looked botched in the beginning. Like, it looked like he very nearly messed it up and, like, hit his feet on the floor before he started, and he might have. He might have actually hit the floor. I don't know, it kind of looked like it was, like it was just barely obscured by the camera. But that one was okay. But then the other one, he's, like, on the apron, and Xavier Woods is coming to the ring. And it was supposed to be that he got knocked off the apron, but sort of landed on Xavier Woods in like a rolling thing that kept his feet off the floor and somehow got him like up in this weird like two-person attached at the asses duck walk where Xavier was able to shuffle him over to the steps and get him back in the ring. The problem with it was that this looked ugly as shit. It was messed up. First of all, it didn't look to me like he got knocked off the apron. It looked like he just jumped off the apron for no reason. Maybe he did get knocked off the ring and it was just kind of obscured, but it just... So I'm thinking, they're like, why the fuck did he do that? Why did he jump just to get his stupid spot in? It didn't look like anyone was, really pushing him off the apron. And then when he landed on Xavier and did the rolling thing into the weird asses-to-asses duck walk, it was such an awkward maneuver that it kind of got messed up, and they botched it and hit the floor. His feet didn't touch the floor. I mean, he barely kept his feet up. But that looked even more awkward, that they had botched the move, and he was kind of just like, they were kind of laying there in a heap for a minute with just him holding his feet up off the ground before they sort of fixed it and reconfigured themselves back into this beast with two backs. So it just looked bad. It looked botched and shitty. And also, Xavier duck walks him over to the ring steps, and then they both get in the ring, and they both immediately get eliminated anyways. So like always, it was pointless. The point is, the whole thing is just starting to annoy me, because everyone likes Kofi, and everybody wants him to have that championship match at WrestleMania, but I really don't think it'll ever happen, and every year, everybody deludes themselves into having hope that this is going to be the year Kofi wins, and that his crazy Rumble spots finally pay off, and it's never going to fucking happen. So it's just a worthless gimmick if you think about it, because his gimmick is now that he's a loser. He's not the master of the Rumble. He would be the master of the Rumble if he did his crazy spots and then won. But instead, he's the master of doing a crazy spot in the Rumble to stay in once or twice and then getting eliminated anyways. He's a master of losing. Kofi Kingston is the master of losing the Rumble. And that also annoyed me this year in particular, because if there was ever a year for Kofi to win it, this is the year. It should have been now. If they were ever going to actually pull the trigger on Kofi winning the Rumble, this is the year it should have happened. Because we've got a heel Daniel Bryan as the World Heavyweight Champion. Now, who doesn't want to see that match? That's a great match. That's amazing. That's not only a great match on paper, but if you think about it, it could be a great match storyline-wise, and it's an interesting match. It's a match that you don't see, that you haven't seen, that you might not have thought about. But once you think about it, you're like, oh, wow, I've never seen those two guys have a singles match, let alone a match for the championship at WrestleMania. That'd be amazing. And you'll never get that opportunity again. You'll never again have the opportunity of Kofi Kingston going to WrestleMania and fighting a heel Daniel Bryan, which would be an amazing match. With Daniel Bryan's technical wrestling skills and Kofi Kingston's athleticism. Not to mention the fact that everybody loves Kofi Kingston. That everybody, hates Daniel Bryan as a heel. That, like, for once you'd have a match where everybody is booing the heel and cheering the face. Where everybody actually feels the correct way. Where both guys connect with the crowd in the way that they want. And storyline-wise, here's why I think it would be really poetically interesting. Because years and years ago, when Daniel Bryan first won his big championship match at WrestleMania, the whole thing was that Daniel Bryan was this guy who everybody had been behind for years, who this underdog, this scrappy, guy that the company didn't believe in, and everybody for years had been behind him and really wanted to see him succeed. And now, if you had Kofi win the Rumble and go to WrestleMania and put him in that spot, you'd have the exact same thing. Kofi is the guy now that people have been behind for years and would love to see win, that clearly the company doesn't really believe in. It's the same really relatable underdog story that everybody wants to see, just with the roles reversed. Kofi Kingston is in the exact same spot that Daniel Bryan was once in years ago. And now the roles are reversed. Daniel Bryan is coming in as the champion and as a heel, as a bad guy, as a jerk, as a bastard. And Kofi Kingston wins the fucking Rumble after years and years of build-up. You've got, you know, this is built-in build-up. Years and years of him being the undisputed master of doing cool stuff to stay in the Rumble, but falling short anyways. You know, all of these Kofi spots over the years would finally mean something if he finally won the Rumble, and especially if he won it this year, and went to WrestleMania as the hero fighting a vicious, highly motivated, bad guy Daniel Bryan. That's the match I want to see. That's the storyline I want to see. And this was the year to do it. And they didn't do it. So now it'll never happen. Now it'll only ever exist in my head. This beautiful tapestry that I've just weaved for you. This captivating storyline of poetic destiny. But instead, it'll just never happen. Kofi Kingston will keep doing Rumble spots for the rest of his career and keep never actually winning the Rumble until he retires, which will make it all worthless. He'll never win the championship, much less at WrestleMania. And Daniel Bryan, I guess, will fight some other guy at WrestleMania. And no matter who it is, no matter who Daniel Bryan ends up facing at WrestleMania, there's no way it'll be as cool or as captivating or as interesting as this storyline that I have concocted in my head for what I would have liked to see. So I'll be disappointed no matter what, because I'll just be thinking about this amazing Kofi Kingston-Daniel Bryan match that I now know will never come to pass. So I'm sick of the Kofi spot. Either pull the trigger and let him win the Rumble, or stop jerking me off. Let me come or get off my dick. Shit or get off the pot. Seth Rollins ended up winning the Rumble, and this I was also irritated with. I'm always irritated when it comes down to like the last 4 guys, and the other 3 guys you know are not gonna win. Generally speaking, I don't like this thing that they do. I don't know when the WWE started doing this. I don't know when it started, but they always really focus on the last 4 guys. Like, this is the final 4, which I don't like because it turns the Rumble into basically a fatal 4-way, and like, once you make it clear that it's going to be one of these 4 guys, then I, the viewer, think, okay, well, I know it's not going to be him, him, or him, so I know it's going to be this guy. It kind of takes the element of surprise out of it. And I'm not saying you can't have it come down to 4 guys, because that just is going to happen naturally at some point, but drawing attention to it like it's a big deal that it's the last 4 guys always rubs me the wrong way. And another thing that I hate about the Rumble in general, I mean, I love the Rumble, but one of my gripes about it in general, or my gripes about the way WWE does things, is that there's always a bunch of people in the Rumble who you know are not gonna win. There's always, 4 or 5 people who actually have a chance of winning the Rumble. Some years, even less than that. Some years, it's gonna be this guy. Or it's going to be one of these 2 guys. And nobody else has a chance. And to a certain point, that's just being storyline savvy. Or genre savvy. But I really think the Rumble should feel like a thing that anybody could win. The perfect Rumble winner, the theoretical perfect Rumble winner, is someone that the crowd would be happy and excited to see have a championship match at WrestleMania. Not just someone the crowd likes, but someone who would make for an interesting match at WrestleMania. And it should be, at least once in a while, someone surprising. Which is another reason why the perfect person to win this year would have been Kofi Kingston. Everybody would have loved it. It would have made everybody happy, because it makes for an interesting match and an interesting storyline, and it's unexpected. Nobody really expects Kofi to win, so it's a surprise, and it's a good surprise. The best possible Rumble outcome is a good surprise. Doesn't have to be a surprise, but once in a while it should be, and it helps if it's a good surprise. Nobody wants it to be a bad surprise, obviously. And if you did something like that, if you had someone win the Rumble just one year or once every few years who was actually a little bit unexpected to win, that would go a long way in making the Rumble feel like something that anyone could win, which is how it's supposed to feel. I mean, obviously you're going to have some comedy spots in there, you're going to have some jobbers in there, for lack of a better term. Obviously, Curt Hawkins is not going to win. But what if he did? What if Curt Hawkins, after a 250-some match losing streak that they've made a big deal about and made part of his gimmick, what if after that losing streak, he suddenly won the Rumble and went to WrestleMania on some fluke? That's an interesting story. That's awesome. That'd be the most interesting story ever. Now you've got a guy in the spot of a main eventer who's clearly there on a fluke, who, you know, doesn't stand a chance, but he's in that spot now. He won the Rumble, fluke or not. So now you can have this whole story of him, like, really having to get motivated and really having to give it his all to be a serious competitor, you know, doing some Rocky training montage, going into a match at WrestleMania with a guy like Daniel Bryan or something, who's like a serious world champion, vicious motherfucker. You know, that's an underdog story. The WWE loves underdog stories so much. That's a fucking underdog story. A guy like Curt Hawkins, nobody would believe that he could win, but if you did the story right, you could get him there to WrestleMania, and people would almost believe he could win. People would have like a 1% feeling of, like, what if he does it? Like, what if he pulls it off? You know, I don't know. That's a fucking interesting story. You give people that fucking tiny shred of hope in a fucking guy like Curt Hawkins. You know, this is fucking... I just want it to be less predictable, is my point. So it came down to, I think, Andrade. He's not Andrade Cien Almas anymore. They've shortened it to Andrade. It came down to Andrade, Dolph Ziggler, Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins. Those are the final four guys in the ring. And normally, you could almost see Dolph Ziggler winning it. You could see Braun Strowman winning it. And it's a stretch, but you could even almost kind of see Andrade winning it, because while he has not been a main eventer thus far, he is a guy who is believable, I guess. You could see it. He's not a main eventer yet, but if the WWE wanted to make him a main eventer, they wouldn't have to try very hard. He has all the tools. You could easily see him being a guy in a championship match. And of course, Seth Rollins, you could all see winning it. So on paper, all four of those guys, that's a good final four. You could almost see any one of them winning it. The problem is that they completely gave away that Seth Rollins was going to win. So you knew that the other three guys had no hope because they basically spoiled it. And how did they spoil it? I'll tell you. They did the announcer table spot. The incredibly tired, incredibly repetitive Royal Rumble announcer table dead guy spot that they do every fucking year now. Here's what the spot is. Somebody in the Rumble who has a good chance of winning gets taken out of the ring in a way that does not eliminate them. As in, they don't necessarily go over the top rope, so it doesn't count. Usually, it's some disgruntled heel who has just been eliminated on the outside, pulling someone off the apron or something, or pulling someone under the ropes, so it doesn't count as an elimination, but they're outside of the ring, and the heel beats them up, and the heel takes them and smashes them through the announcer table. Or beats them up some other way, or kills them, or whatever the fuck. So now this person, who has not yet been eliminated, is nonetheless on the outside of the ring, laying on the ground, in a broken heap, dead. And they lay there, dead, for about 40 minutes to an hour, while the Rumble continues, in the hopes that the audience will be stupid enough to forget that this person was never eliminated. Then, near the end of the Rumble, the dead guy gets up, comes back in the ring, and wins it. They have done this so many times that it's essentially a spoiler mid-match, because the second that I saw Seth Rollins go through that announcer's table, I said to myself, oh, okay, Seth is winning. Because that's what happens. Okay, he's going to lay there for a while, and he's going to come back in the Rumble later and win. That's what it is now. The spot is so tired that it's essentially a spoiler. They spoiled the ending of the match during the match. Because as soon as I see a fan favorite or a guy who might win go through that announcer's table without having gone over the ropes first, I know exactly what they're doing. Please never do this spot again. So, later on in the match, when Seth Rollins, quite predictably, gets back up and comes back into the ring and rejoins the Rumble, and it's now down to the final 4, normally I could see all 4 of those guys having a chance at winning, but because they did the table spot, and because Seth Rollins has been laying there for 30 minutes, I know that the other 3 guys don't stand a chance. I know that Seth Rollins is winning, because they wouldn't do the table spot if the guy wasn't going to win. So that kind of sucked all the excitement out of the match for me, and especially out of the climax of the match, the last 4 guys. And I'm not saying that Seth Rollins winning is a bad thing. I'm not saying I'm against Seth Rollins winning. I like Seth Rollins. Everybody likes Seth Rollins. He's probably the most over guy in the company right now. Probably the best wrestler in the company right now. Or at least one of them. And if he chooses to face Brock Lesnar for the Universal title, which I'm pretty sure we all knew that he would, he's pretty much exactly the guy that you want to see defeat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins is the guy, especially with Roman being gone with cancer. If anyone is going to be the dude to conquer the beast at WrestleMania, it's going to be Seth Rollins. So you knew he was going to pick Brock Lesnar, and you kind of knew he was going to win, but there was still just a little bit of room for it to be someone else. They could have always pulled a fast one. It could have been a surprise. But as soon as they did that table spot, you just knew. And it sucked the wind out of my sails for the rest of the match, because when it comes to wrestling, there is a huge difference between 99% sure that this guy is going to win and 100% sure that this guy is going to win. That 1% difference is probably the most important thing in all of wrestling. Because within that 1%, anything could fucking happen. Any number of things could change the game and completely catch you off guard. So, based on the fact that Seth is the most over guy, and Brock is the champion, and Roman left with cancer, and we all want to see someone who's a good wrestler and over with the fans beat Brock Lesnar, based on all of that, you knew going into the Rumble that there is a 99% chance Seth Rollins is winning the Rumble. And that's fine. But as soon as he went through that fucking table, it went from a 99% certainty to 100% certainty, and that's when I lose interest. That's when I stop caring. So, Seth Rollins wins the Rumble. He's going to fight Brock Lesnar. It was a good match, for the most part. Good show, for the most part. But my ultimate point is, stop doing the fucking table spot. Stop it! Stop doing it! Stop!